I never liked the old construction site. It's been sitting unfinished on the edge of town for years. This half-built apartment complex with no windows, just concrete and rusted scaffolding. Everyone says the company went bankrupt and left it to rot. You can see it from the highway, fenced off and forgotten. The metal sign out front still says, "Coming soon." Last month, a girl from our school disappeared. Her name was Jamie. 17, quiet, smart. The last time anyone saw her, she was walking home along the back road that runs behind the site. No witnesses, no calls, just gone. For weeks, the police searched everywhere, fields, woods, even the storm drains. Nothing. That's when Eli started talking about the site. "We should go check it out," he said. "Just to see. What if she's in there?" I told him it was stupid. The place was sealed up and it wasn't our business. But Eli's not the kind of person who lets something go. He kept bringing it up. Eventually, I gave in. We went on a Saturday afternoon. The town was quiet. I told my mom I was sleeping over at Eli's. He told his parents we were going to the arcade. We brought flashlights, our phones, and hoodies with deep pockets. Eli had a bolt cutter in his backpack, said he borrowed it from his uncle's garage. The fence was taller than I thought, but the gate was loose, and Eli made quick work of the chain. We slipped in and pushed the gate closed behind us. The wind made the metal creak as it swung. Inside, everything felt wrong. There were no birds, no wind, just concrete and dirt and silence. We walked past the old construction trailer, then into the main building. No doors, just open hallways leading into hollow rooms. The walls were gray and unpainted. Exposed wires hung from the ceilings like veins. It smelled like damp dust. The deeper we went, the worse it got. "I thought this place was abandoned," I said. Eli looked back. "It is." "Then why's there fresh trash?" We both saw it. A fast food wrapper on the ground, still crisp. A half-full water bottle. Shoe prints in the dust, not ours. We didn't say anything after that. We just kept walking. Upstairs, everything echoed. Every step we took bounced back at us. There were no lights, no windows, just open holes in the walls. The concrete was cracked in places. One wrong step and you'd fall through to the level below. That's when we saw the scarf. It was pink, torn, caught on a piece of rebar sticking out from the floor. Jamie's favorite color was pink. Everyone knew that. I don't know why I touched it. It was cold, stiff, like it had been wet and dried stiff in the air. "We should go," I said. Eli didn't answer. He was looking up the stairwell, listening. "You hear that?" It was faint, but I heard it too. Movement, footsteps, or something like it, from above. "Could be a raccoon," I said. "Too heavy." Eli was already heading up the stairs. I followed, but everything in me wanted to turn back. The third floor was darker. The windows were just gaps, covered in grime. The air smelled worse here, like something rotten, trapped too long. We moved, slowly, careful. Eli kept his flashlight low, sweeping across the floor. That's when we found the phone. It was lying face down near the wall. I picked it up. The screen was cracked, dead, but the wallpaper was still visible in the light. Jamie, smiling. The same photo she used on her socials. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. "We need to get out," I said. But before Eli could answer, the phone buzzed. The flashlight flickered at the same time, just for a second. Then silence again. The phone buzzed once more and the alarm went off. It wasn't loud, just a soft chime. But in that place, it felt deafening. The sound echoed through the concrete, down the halls, down the stairwell. Then, we heard it. Something moved. Fast. Not above us. Not below. On the same floor. Eli turned off the flashlight. "Don't move." We stood there, frozen. I held the phone so tight my fingers ached. Something was in the hallway. We didn't see it, but we heard it breathing. Heavy. Slow. And it stopped moving. like it was waiting. "Run," Eli whispered. We bolted down the hallway toward the stairs, but the stairwell was gone. I'm not kidding, it was blocked. Piles of metal sheets, bricks, wood, stuff that wasn't there before. We doubled back, took another corridor. Every exit was blocked. Dead ends. We kept going, turning corners, looking for something, anything. That's when we saw the door. It was a heavy metal one marked basement access. It was half open. We didn't have a choice. Inside, the stairwell was narrow and steep. Light at all. We went down with just Eli's flashlight and the dead phone. The air was thick, hard to breathe. At the bottom was a long hallway. Unfinished concrete, damp and cold. Pipes ran along the ceiling. The walls were covered in graffiti, most of it old. But one part caught my eye, scratched deep into the wall. She stayed too long. I looked at Eli. He looked pale. He reached for the flashlight, and it flickered again. That was the last time I saw him clearly. The light died. Something scraped against the floor behind us. Eli screamed. I turned, reached for him, but there was nothing. Just the sound of something running, dragging, breathing. I ran. I ran harder than I ever have, up the stairs, into the dark, feeling my way through corridors. My hands bled from the walls, my legs burned, but I didn't stop. Somehow I found an exit. A broken window on the second floor. I climbed through and dropped down, rolling onto the dirt. I didn't look back. I sprinted through the lot, over the fence, across the empty field. I didn't stop until I was home. My mom thought I'd had a panic attack. She called the police. They searched the site the next morning. They found the phone, the scarf, nothing else. No Eli, no sign he was ever there. They said maybe he ran, got scared, took off. But I know that's not true. Because at night, when everything's quiet, I still hear the alarm sound. Same time, same chime, and I still see the message in my dreams. She stayed too long. Now he did too. I was 14 the summer Uncle Ben took me night fishing out at Balsam Lake. It wasn't a big lake, just a long, narrow patch of water tucked deep into the woods in eastern Kentucky. Not many people knew about it. He said it was perfect for catfish after dark. We'd been out there once before during the day. Nothing weird about it then. Quiet, peaceful, felt like a secret place. We drove out late on a Saturday. Long dirt road. No signs, no houses, just trees and gravel for miles. It took us nearly an hour from the main road to reach the water. Uncle Ben parked the truck at the edge of a clearing that opened up to the lake. We carried our gear down to a small wooden dock he'd helped build years ago. By the time we set up, the sun was already low. We rigged the lines, cracked open some sodas, and sat on our buckets. I liked being out there with him. He didn't talk much. Neither did I. The sound of frogs and insects filled the air. It was still warm, but a breeze rolled off the water now and then. That part felt good. It didn't last. Maybe an hour after sunset, I noticed how quiet it had gotten. The frogs had stopped. Crickets, too. Even the breeze felt like it had died. The trees across the lake stopped moving. Everything was still. Glanced at Ben. He wasn't looking at the water anymore. He was staring into the woods behind us. "You hear that?" he asked. "I don't hear anything." "Exactly," he said. We sat like that for a minute, listening to nothing. It was the kind of quiet that starts pushing on your ears, like the air's too thick. Ben stood up and went to the tackle box. I watched him dig around a second, then stop. "Did you move the lantern?" he asked. "No, it's not here." He looked around the dock, under the crate we used for bait, under the bench. Nothing. The propane lantern we brought, the one we used last time, it was gone. He checked the cooler next. Still full. Rod's still in place, but the lantern was just gone. "Maybe you forgot it in the truck?" I asked. "I set it down right here when we got here." He didn't say anything else, but I could tell it rattled him. I was starting to feel off too. I kept thinking about how quiet everything was. Then we both noticed something else. The boat was drifting away. It was a little John boat we'd tied to the dock earlier. I helped him do it. Now it was floating 5 feet out, slow, like someone had just pushed it. Ben leaned out and looked at the post. The rope was still tied, but it had been cut. Not frayed. Cut clean. He stood there for a second, still holding his fishing rod. Then, he said, "Pack it up." No arguing, no explanation, just that. We gathered our gear in silence. I felt like I was forgetting something, but I didn't want to turn my back on the woods. I kept checking over my shoulder. When we started heading back up the narrow path to the truck, I stayed close behind him. About halfway up the trail, he stopped walking. Just froze. I stopped too. "What?" I whispered. He held up a hand. Listened. Then, he whispered, "Footsteps." At first I didn't hear them. But when we started walking again, I noticed it. Someone else was walking too. But only when we moved. When we stopped, it stopped. At first, it sounded far behind us. Then closer. Not fast. Just steady. Like someone following, step for step. We didn't run, we didn't talk, just kept moving up the trail, steady and fast. The trail felt different at night. We'd come down it easily earlier, but now it was narrow and uneven. Trees leaned in close. My flashlight beam was weak, flickering, like the battery was dying. "Don't shine it around," Ben said. "Just ahead. Keep walking." The footsteps didn't stop. Branches cracked behind us, then nothing. Then more crunching and faster this time. I wanted to ask who it could be. Maybe another camper? A ranger? But deep down I knew. Whoever was out there wasn't trying to say hello. They were staying just far enough back to not be seen. Ben stopped again, then turned off his flashlight. "Turn yours off too," he whispered. I didn't want to, but I did. We stood in total darkness. The only light came from a sliver of moon, behind the clouds. The footsteps kept going. 1 step, 2, then silence. Then a stick broke. Closer this time. Ben took a slow breath, then said softly, "Run." And we ran. Not back to the lake, not off the trail, just forward, toward the truck, toward the road. My backpack bounced hard against my spine. I dropped my pole. Didn't care. The footsteps behind us broke into a run, too. Whoever it was, they were fast. Maybe faster than us, I couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. My legs hurt, but I didn't stop. At one point, I swear I heard breathing behind me. Not mine, not Ben's. Right behind me. We burst through the final stretch of woods and saw the truck. Ben fumbled the keys but got the door open. We dove inside, slammed the doors, locked them. We sat there panting, staring at the trail behind us. Nothing came out. Not a person, not an animal. Nothing. He started the engine. We didn't say a word until we hit pavement again. Even then, we kept the windows rolled up and the doors locked the whole ride home. That was 2 years ago. Ben sold the boat. We never went back to Balsam Lake. He won't talk about it, not with me, not with anyone. I think about it more than I should. We didn't see who it was, didn't hear a voice, no face, no name. But something was there. It cut our rope, took our lantern, followed us through the woods without ever being seen. It wanted something, and I think if we hadn't left when we did, we'd never have made it out. Sometimes I still hear footsteps in the dark. It was past 10 when the order came in. Just one more drop and I could head home. The day had been brutal, 100 degrees easy, and the heat didn't let up even after the sun went down. My shirt was stuck to my back. I was out of water and my head was pounding. The order was for a small house out by Riverbend Trailer Park off the service road. I knew the area. Quiet. Not great at night. But I didn't care. I just wanted to get it over with. The trailer didn't look right when I pulled up. No lights on inside. No porch light. Yard was full of dead grass and broken toys. Mailbox was hanging open. Felt like no one had been there in weeks. Still, I parked out front and grabbed the bag, walked up, knocked. Nothing. Waited a few seconds and knocked again. Still nothing. I sighed, checked the number on the order again. Right address. I pulled out my phone and hit the number listed. It rang. Then a voice. A woman. Breathy. Quiet. Hello? Hey, I said. Delivery for, Michelle? Yes. Yes, I'm almost there. Please just wait out front. I'll be there. In a minute. Something in her voice sounded off. Nervous, like she was trying to sound calm but couldn't quite pull it off. Okay, I said. I'll wait. She hung up without saying anything else. I stood on the porch looking around. The street was dead. One flickering street lamp 2 lots down. Crickets were loud, but otherwise it was quiet. Too quiet. After a few minutes, my stomach cramped. I hadn't eaten since noon and the heat wasn't helping. But worse, I needed to pee. Badly. I didn't want to leave the area in case she showed up. There was no gas station nearby. I glanced around. No one was out. No neighbors on their porches, nothing but shadows and heat. There was a small wooden shed behind the trailer, some dead bushes next to it. I figured I could go quick and come right back. I walked over, staying close to the wall. The air back there felt even heavier, like the heat couldn't escape. I stepped behind the bush, unzipped, and started to go. And then I heard something. Not a rustle, more like a shift. Like something adjusting its weight in the dirt. I looked down. There was someone there. Crouched behind the bush, half covered in shadow. I saw a leg, then a face. Not clearly, but enough. It was a man. Knees tucked to his chest, hands down low, just watching me. I stumbled back, still zipping up. My heart slammed into my ribs. The man bolted, fast, didn't look at me. Just ran between 2 trailers and vanished into the dark. I stood there frozen. Couldn't move. Couldn't speak. What the hell was he doing there? Then I saw it. Something. Tucked behind the bush where he'd been hiding. A worn-out backpack, half buried in dirt. I bent down and opened it. Inside was duct tape, a pair of latex gloves, a phone charger, a small flashlight, a box cutter, the kind with the retractable blade, and a folded rope. I dropped the bag like it was on fire. This wasn't just some homeless guy squatting. This was something else. Someone waiting. For who? I ran back to my car and locked the doors, grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and dialed 911. Told the dispatcher everything. Where I was, what I saw, what was in the bag. She asked if I felt safe. I said no. She told me to stay in the car. Officers were on their way. I stayed parked, engine running, doors locked. Then I saw her. A woman, walking up the road fast, glancing behind her every few steps. Brown hair, baggy sweatshirt, face pale. When she saw me, she started running. She reached the car, hands slamming on the window. "Let me in," she said. "Please, please, he's out here." I unlocked the door, and she jumped in. Slammed it shut and locked it again. "He was waiting here," she said, shaking. I knew it. "Was that your order?" She nodded fast. "I didn't know where else to go. This is my friend's place. She's gone, but I knew the lock code. I thought I lost him." "Your ex?" I asked. She didn't answer, just started crying. We sat in silence. My eyes never left the road. Every shadow looked like a person. I kept thinking I'd see movement again. Someone coming out from behind a trailer. Something. Minutes. Felt like hours. Finally, flashing red and blue lit up the street. 2 patrol cars pulled up. I jumped out and flagged them down. The woman told them her story. I told them mine. They searched the area, took the bag, looked through the bushes and around the lot, but the man was gone. They didn't find him, didn't even find his footprints. Just the stuff he left behind. And us. One of the officers told me I did the right thing. But that didn't make me feel any better. They drove the woman to a shelter. She looked back once before getting in the cruiser. Her face was blank, tired, done. I sat in my car, hands still, shaking, before finally pulling away. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him crouched there. Just a shape in the dark, waiting, watching. If I hadn't had to go, I never would have found him, and he might still be waiting.